Good, how you doing?
Phoenix Award. Yeah. Recognition.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to call the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District monthly board meeting Monday, March 11th, 2019 to order. Reverend Chetwood is actually caught up in traffic with the accident on 75, so please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comment on agenda items this evening? Seeing none? I need a motion to approve the February 11th, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need one motion for the February 2019 and current expenditures and ACH payments, the acknowledgement of financial report, acknowledgement of wire transfers and transfers between accounts, and
So
budgeted purchases over 10,000.
You finished?
Yes, dear.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, the years of service acknowledgements presentation sheet.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. I would also like to, for the years of service acknowledgement, we have two. The first is firefighter EMT Gabriel Puente. If you want to come up front. Apparently, he's doing well since he made it off probation, so if he wasn't doing well, he wouldn't be
That's why he's
standing here today. The first year is always a great milestone because that means you become a permanent employee, and you made it through the test of all the lieutenants that he had to work for. So
No easy
congratulations,
task.
Gabriel.
Just missed it.
And next, we have Administrative Coordinator Christine Beal. She had her first year of service this year as well. She replaced Jessica when Jessica left the district, and I must say she's done a fabulous job in her position and fits right in with the district, so I wanted to congratulate her as well on 1 year.
She's your new boss, so.
We need to get Pierre to turn our mic down. Get Pierre to turn our mic down. Yeah, that's good. Okay, it's just the game.
Did you get a picture of that?
Congratulations. Congratulations, President.
By the way, Commissioner Fitzgerald, that's her very large boyfriend, or fiance.
He's also a gentleman. I hope he's a controlled gentleman.
All right, thank you. For the Phoenix Award presentation and the Historic Award presentation, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Scott.
So we're going to recognize the Phoenix Award tonight, this afternoon. And before I go into the announcing everyone and bringing them up here, I just want to kind of revisit what the Phoenix Award is about and the steps that these individuals, men and women, go through on these calls, just to remind everyone. They get a little routine for us, and especially in our jobs, in our careers. And recently, we were out, we do a lot of public education in the communities. So Nicole Hornberger and myself were out at one of those communities, and we were talking to a group of people about AED use and CPR and chest compressions. And I realized the intimidation that the average person has out there with just using an automatic defibrillator and putting pads on someone and letting it do its job, and or putting their hands on someone that is deceased at the time and doing chest compressions. And then it kind of brings us, me in this case, full circle, and watching what the individuals do that we're recognizing tonight, the first responders. So I want to go through those steps a little bit, just for a minute or two, to remind everybody of what occurs on these calls within the first few minutes that they arrive on scene. So they get the call for someone, and usually it comes in as a cardiac arrest, as this one did. Someone's that we assume that they're not breathing and they have no heartbeat. So we show up on scene, we quickly have to assess those things immediately. Is someone truly deceased at this time? Because what we do to revive them, you don't want to do to a person that's alive, right? So we have to do that immediately. After that, we call on the radio, and the crews do this. I don't do it anymore, but they call cardiac arrest. They immediately start chest compressions, and then there's a whole slew of things that happen shortly after that. When those of you who have been in the room here where we do these presentations for the for groups that come in, and we talk about the pit crew and we talk about the different jobs, and you've seen the chief do this presentation, 4 or 5 people. We have airway to deal with, chest compressions. We have to get a route to administer medications, whether it's an IV or an IO. We run a cardiac monitor, and while this is going on, there's someone watching the entire scene, the call, the rhythm that the patient's in, and what we do changes depending on those things. So on this particular call, and this is very typical of the type of call that we have, first crew called cardiac arrest. They immediately put on the cardiac monitor and look at the rhythm, and this one was in VFib, ventricular fibrillation, so a shock was called for. So they delivered that shock, and then someone starts doing chest compressions for 2 minutes. At the same time, a second person is addressing the airway. So they have to put in, depending on the patient, the situation, is it a patent airway? Is there something in their airway? So all that's evaluated by another person. So that was established. Then we have to get a medication route, IV or IO. You've seen those regular IV, and then we have an interosseous bone needle that we put in and to give it. Then on this one, the first round of epinephrine was given through that IO. Check the rhythm again after 2 minutes of CPR. VFib was still going on, and shock was delivered. 2 minutes of CPR. A different medication is given because of the VFib, because we recognize that rhythm. So another medication was given after that. 2 minutes of CPR, VFib again, another shock, CPR, epi, rhythm check, rhythm change. Now when I say rhythm change, every time we pause after 2 minutes and look at this cardiac monitor, the medic in charge is looking for several things. They're looking for, we check for a pulse, but we're looking for a spike in end-tidal CO2. And many times, and that's what happened on this call. So they see that spike, and then they know to go check for a blood pressure and a pulse. And now another whole gear kicks in, and we go into post-arrest treatment. So all this is happening in this first, that was 2 minutes, 3 shocks. This is all happening over the first 8 minutes, everything I just described, all happening at the same time. You also have, you're in someone's home, you have their family there, you have the stress of those people around you, and you're performing and having to perform your job. And I have to say, the last few that I showed up and watched, it looks like, and don't take this the wrong way that it's not important, but it seems almost routine. They're so efficient at their job. And I have to say, and we'll bring her up here, Beverly is here tonight, and one of the last ones I went to, she was running, and she was the code commander from EMS. And it was the calming effect that she had from her years of experience that I recognized how well that call was going. It was amazing. It almost seems like people should be doing more, even all that's going on. So I just want to applaud, and I just wanted to spend a couple minutes to run through just a few of those steps that we all forget. You think, oh, a Phoenix Award, yeah, you go in and you do a few chest compressions and the person pops up. That's not how it works. By the way, after you get that post-arrest, then you have a 12-lead EKG to do. You have an epi infusion to maintain their blood pressure. We have to get them on a board or something to move them to the ambulance. A collar already went on them. You're calling the hospital, talking to a physician many times. and then getting them in the ambulance and continuing sometimes this treatment all the way to the hospital. And in this case, they did all those things, everything worked, and the person walked out of the hospital completely intact. So, pretty, pretty big operation that we take for granted. So, again, thanks for your time. I just want to go over that. So, after all that, now I'm going to introduce the crews so we can applaud, and I'll just call your name and everybody come on up. We'll start with, this was Truck 25. Lieutenant EMT Dave Brewer was on Truck 25. Firefighter Paramedic Joe Sanderson. Firefighter EMT Alicia O'Leary. Firefighter EMT Sarah Steffens, who's not here tonight. And from EMS, Lee County EMS, Medic 13, Paramedic Beverly Spates, and EMT Kevin Murphy Jr. ran that call and performed all those things I talked to you about. You remember that one I walked in on? Good job. Good job, Alicia. Great job. Thanks, man. Good job. Thanks for coming. Great job. Thank you. Good job. Okay, now we really have to switch gears, because now we're recognizing another type of call tonight, and we call this a Stork Award. So we're going to recognize a crew that went to a call for a mom that was in active labor with imminent delivery, and the baby was born, and they performed their job, of course, outstandingly, just like we did on that cardiac arrest, but a little different because they're bringing life into the world, right? The other one, we're trying to extend someone's life so they can stay here longer. So a little bit different, but equally as important. So on this call, this was on just a little over a month ago, the end of January, 6 weeks ago or so. Again, they got that call, and those of us in the service know that when you get the childbirth calls, you hope that you can get there and get them to the hospital before that happens, right? And if you're lucky enough through your career, like myself, after 25 years, never had a delivery. So I feel blessed for that one sometimes. But you have to be prepared. So that's where I'm going with this. You have to be prepared not for one patient, but for two, because now you have a child coming. So they walked in, and the way this call went, when I read the narrative, they got there just in time. So we had a pretty big crew. We had 2 units go. We had engine and rescue 21, and 2 medic units came. Again, possibly for the baby and for mom. So the mom, there wasn't a lot of complications. Same type of thing, though. You have to prepare for both, because it can be. I think when the baby came, besides the normal stimulation, I think this baby was a little cyanotic, if I from the report, and it needed some stimulation, which is a little scary. Again, we don't do this. We're not in a hospital setting. When someone's home, very, very different. But again, outstanding. Mom did great. Baby did great. So again, I want to announce all the people that were there so we can recognize them. So from Engine 21 and Rescue 21, we have first the BC paramedic Cesar Sanchez. Came to that, Lieutenant Paramedic Rich Lanza, Firefighter Paramedic Joe Sanderson. Wasn't he just up here for something? Oh, yeah. Firefighter Paramedic Phil Kinsey III, PK3, Firefighter Paramedic Vince Perkins, Firefighter Paramedic Andy Sertnick. And from Lee County EMS, I don't believe Ken or Candy was here, but we have Paramedic Ken Veltman and EMT Candace Holmes. And then from Medic 6, we have FTO Paramedic Stan Ball, Paramedic Daniel Owen, and EMT Mark Resty.
Congratulations to all. Thank you, Chief. Next item of business is Jeff Kern, Vice President of Water Walker Investments, is going to do a presentation for the board and for administrative staff. Jeff, thank you.
My name is Jeff Kern. I'm with Water Walker Investments. I want to thank Chairman Lohan and fellow commissioners for having us out here to speak about investments to you, and Chief Daigle and the staff. So wanted to go through this presentation. Hopefully you've had a chance to look it over.
Can I interrupt you just for
Sure.
1 second?
Sure.
It was my bad. Usually after we do the awards, I let everybody that wants to leave, we
Oh.
take a minute, and I overlooked that. If anybody would not like to, you're welcome to stay, but if you'd like to go, we'll take a minute here to clear the room. Okay, we can go ahead. Sorry for the interruption, Jeff.
No problem. Like I said, we're here to talk a little bit about an investment solution for local governments that's under statutes. I've talked to Lisa, and you guys have a bank account that earns pretty good interest. There are a lot of other districts we've seen around the state that don't do as well. So I wanted to commend you on that and just talk a little bit about what we can offer the district going forward. So on page 2, just a little bit about who we are. We've been managing public funds since 2000. We are investment managers and consultants. We're here to talk really about the local government investment pool. So in 2010, we were selected as a manager for Florida Fixed Income Trust. We call it Florida FIT. And those both are authorized under state statutes 163.01 and the authorized investment under Chapter 218.415 of the Florida statutes. So if you don't have an investment policy, you're still eligible under the state statutes to invest in our trust. And then you can see below our assets under management as of 12/31 of this past year has grown significantly. We're about $4.6 billion assets under management, which includes our pools that we manage and all the separately managed accounts throughout the state. Please stop me anytime you have any questions. On page 3, just a little bit about our services. Again, I'm going to focus on the left side of what we do. So again, we're talking about Florida FIT, and we do have 4 different investment pools that we manage. The first 2 are dollar in, dollar out, which means the value of your investment will not change from that $1 value. The other 2 are a little bit longer, the enhanced cash about 0.4 years, and the 1 to 3 about a little over a year. And those values, they're called NAV, net asset values, do change based on the market. They earn a little bit more interest, and so if rates stabilize or go down, that may be another option for you if you decide to invest with the trust that you could go into. So there are 4 different strategies. For the purposes of this presentation, we're going to talk about the cash pool. Page 4, just a little bit about our Florida clients. You can see we all the way up in the Panhandle, all the way down to Key West. The black dots represent the FASD or special districts that we have as clients. You can see quite a bit on this coast.
Who enabled you?
North Collier. On the next page, page 5, just a little bit about our trust structure. I won't go into detail on this. We have a board of trustees. There are 7 board members. I'll go over that in the next page. And they basically provide oversight for us as the managers and for the trust. The trust has all those different components. You know, we are audited. We have a legal team. More importantly, that we're rated by Standard & Poor's. And our custody is TD Bank. So if you were to join the trust, you send the money to TD Bank. TD Bank then will keep all the investments there. We don't touch any of that. I think that's another comfort. And again, our participants range from cities, clerks, counties, school district, special districts like yourselves, and tax collectors. On to page 6. Just the 7 different board members that we have. Back this summer, we added 2 board members, one from the Villages, which is a special district. We thought we should add a special district since we've been growing in that area, and then a city of Kissimmee. And they're basically kind of like your board. We meet once a year, and then we have quarterly meetings on the phone about our trust. Page 7 just gives you the 4 different pools. What our current rate as of March 5th on the cash pool is 2.68. That's all net of fees, so that is what the participant, if you were in it, that's what you would get that day. There are no direct fees to the district. The only fees you would incur would be maybe a wiring fee in or out. All our other fees are, again, net of interest. So what you have here is the net. And as you can see, this grid starts in 2016, kind of where rates on the short end, the Federal Reserve started increasing rates. And as you can see, our pools have increased along with what the Fed has been doing. They last increased rates in December to 2.50 on the short end, and not sure what they're going to do in the next year. It looks like they're going to pause a little bit, but we kind of track that short-term interest rate. And then on page 8, just a little bit about the actual cash pool. These are characteristics as of the end of the year. It is a floating net asset value, but we manage it to $1 in, $1 out. We've never been under that $1 threshold. So if you were to put $1 million in, it would and it would get interest that month. If you left the interest in, it would just accumulate, but it would never go under that $1 value. And then just give a little, we do have next day liquidity on all your funds. So if you had $1 million in and you needed it all, you can get that right away. So there's no penalties for taking it out, and there's no time frame for leaving it in. And that goes with all 4 of our pools. We have next day liquidity, but we are working on same day liquidity. But if you ever needed it, we can work that out. And then our rating on the actual pool is AAA, F, S1 plus. AAA is the highest rating that S&P has on funds. And the S1 plus is a volatility rating, which means you want a low volatility. If markets are moving, the value of the assets stay the same. And the S1 plus is the lowest you can get, which is good. And then just give you a little idea of the asset allocation and credit quality. The average duration on this particular fund is about 0.2 years. So it's very short. Assets are always turning over, and we're always, replacing that with rates, with higher rates. So that's probably the biggest difference with the AAA, always turning over. And then last, our commitment to the FASD. Last year, 2018, we were honored to be the Associate Member of the Year. We are heavily involved with the FASD. We are president sponsors. for the FASD, which that money goes to help scholarship CDM program and some of their operations. And then we also have a revenue sharing program through the FASD and Fred Crawford, which is another amount of money that we donate back to the FASD. And really, that is the end of my comments. If you have any questions.
Anybody up here have any questions?
Yes, on page 5, you had mentioned that the cash is held in TD Bank.
TD Bank is our custody bank, yes.
And would that cash be FDIC insured?
Well, that's all our investments, but TD Bank is a QPD, so any of their investments in cash are under that QPD, which is, in a sense, I wouldn't say guarantee, but the way the Chapter 280 holds that the assets in that pool would cover that in case there's a problem, if that's what you're asking.
On page 7,
Okay.
you said that this is a wire in and out fee. What's the amount of the fee for wiring in and out?
We do not charge any fees, so all those fees are absorbed by Water Walker, but if the district sent money out from their bank, they could incur a charge either going out or coming in. And I discussed that with Lisa before we came in.
Okay,
So I
typical-
think it's very minimal.
It'd be a typical bank charge for a
A
wire.
typical bank charge. Normally, local governments in their bank bids usually have a lower one than maybe a retail type of fee. So what we talked about, it seemed pretty low.
Okay, and finally, on page 8, where you talk about dollar in, dollar out,
Yes.
and you talk about interest fees being earned at 2.63, was it, I believe? Or
2.68 is the current cash pool.
So dollar in, dollar out, does that exclude any interest that's earned? Could that interest be lost?
Oh, no.
So
Yeah.
dollar in, dollar out with the interest staying
Right.
there.
Let's say if you had $1 million and then you earn another $1,000 at the end of the month, that $1,001,000, you can still get out dollar in, dollar out.
Thank you.
So there are people that take their interest out, but a lot of people just let it accumulate. So your value will never go into the $1.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anybody else? Anybody from staff? Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys having us here, and
Thanks for coming down. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Jeff. Next item, Commissioner's business. We'll start with Commissioner Murphy this evening.
I have no additional input at this point.
Commissioner Casella,
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Fitzgerald,
I have nothing.
Commissioner Mature.
Don't mind just for a second. I'd like to thank Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Casilla, the chairman especially, under your direction. Commissioner Fitzgerald, I want to thank you. And I really want to thank the chief. And I want to tell the members of the public they should do this. I contacted my insurance company, and because of the chief's leadership and the direction of the chairman and this board, I was able to get a significant discount on my insurance for my ISO because our ISO rating is so low. I encourage the people of the public to do the same. Contact your insurance company, they'll verify it, and then you get a nice either a rebate or a check or a credit. It really worked out well, and I just want to thank everybody because it's because of you guys that we were able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner. And I might add that there must be some way for us to get this information to the public because everybody can benefit from that.
Yes.
And everybody as a homeowner can benefit, but it especially benefits commercial. That's where the largest percentage of discounts come to is on the commercial side. So through the chamber, maybe, that could be passed along, that, there's some money left on the table there, and everybody hates paying insurance premiums, so.
Thanks, Dave.
I have nothing this evening. Anybody have any old business? I'm not going to call anybody by name. Anybody have anything they want to discuss from previous meetings? Okay.
I just have one thing, one
Okay.
quick thing, to the chief, if I may. How's it going with the 9/11 memorial? Is that all completed?
It is completed. I will send the board out some pictures we saw with some lighting that looks really good that we just had accomplished, so,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Okay, under the new business, I need a motion for the disposal of assets report.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Annual report. It's in your packet.
I
Chief?
did want to say something. When I viewed this annual report, I must say Nicole Hornberger outdid herself, which is hard to do. She did a great job on this annual report. Before we put out this annual report, I looked at several annual reports throughout the state in like and kind districts and departments, and I just wanted to appreciate her for her work on presenting this annual report. It's modern, it's up to date, and all the information is very easy to read for the layperson. So I would encourage anyone from the public who's interested in the fire district here in Bonita Springs to view the annual report. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I might add on top of that, Nicole Hornberger also entertained some young children, grandparents, and parents here one day at my request, and she did an outstanding job. She is so good with those kids, and the grandparents and parents were thrilled with the little show she put on for them, and the firefighters were very gracious. Engine 21 and the captain or the lieutenant gave them a little ride. I shouldn't say that in front of the general public, but they really treated these kids like they were the best little prince and prince. Thank you.
I have one comment on the annual report. If it's not too late to change, if it hasn't gone to print yet, it doesn't matter if you put it under the commissioner's introduction or under the chief's introduction, but somewhere in there, I would like it to tout the fact that we're now debt-free. And I think that's a huge accomplishment, and I think an annual report is supposed to report the highlights, and I think that's probably one of the biggest highlights that we've had in the 10.5 years I've been here. We've been working a long time in that, and if it's not too late, I would assume the rest of the board would be fine with that, adding that to the report.
We were just discussing that, sir, and I think you and I had the discussion about the fiscal year versus the
calendar year.
My mind works
Yeah,
in
well,
fiscal year.
I understand that, but
Yes, sir.
this is a calendar year report.
sir.
This isn't a fiscal year report. And
Yes, sir.
under the fiscal year, we were not debt-free because we'd never paid it off until the new fiscal year started, but this being a calendar year, I know it's kind of anal to talk about it like that, but it is an annual report
Yes, sir.
from 1/1 to 12/31. I think that it would be appropriate, if it's not too late, to add something
too
into either our article or yours. It doesn't matter where the credit goes. It was a team effort, so just as long as that gets out in our annual report, I think it's something to be very proud of.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I concur.
Yeah, Chairman, great idea. Thank you.
Okay. I need a motion for the approval of the receptionist job description.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chief's report. Chief Daigle.
Yes, I have a couple things to report. I already mentioned the annual report and recognizing Nicole for her great job. Secondly, I'd like to mention, you may have a handout with you that has the fire service on the front. It's the Florida Fire Chiefs Association magazine that they put out. And on the back of that, you see our very own Natalie Hughes and Deputy Chief Rich Scott. Once again, Bonita is in the forefront of what's taking place in the service. And thanks to Deputy Chief Scott and Natalie and the rest of the staff, we implemented this system. I believe we were the first. We've had several large counties, including like Metro-Dade, I believe it was, other large counties come in and use us as an example of how they want to run their inventory process. And I must say, the efficiency that it has brought to the EMS division, dare I say, it's better than what I did when I was running it. But I want to say that Richie did a great job with that, and obviously, it's something that the state felt was good enough to put in their magazine. So I wanted to recognize him and.
Congratulations,
Here,
Chief.
here.
Yeah, nice job.
Secondly, I did want to mention that we have chosen a new fire marshal. She requested that I not mention it at this point because she has some ends to tie up in her previous employment, but the selection has been made contingent on physicals and the HR process and things of that nature. So forthcoming, I will let the board know when that time frame is and when the new fire marshal will start and when Tim Fernandez will move on. But I must say, I'm extremely happy with the qualifications of our new fire marshal, and the experience speaks for itself, and I believe the board will feel likewise.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that is all I have, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Assistant Chief DeWitt,
I have nothing tonight, sir.
Deputy Chief Scott,
Nothing, sir.
congrats again, and Deputy Chief Madden, just your report.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any public comment? I'm going to ask Reverend Chetwood to come up and do a closing prayer, seeing how the traffic was kind of bad getting here. So we appreciate your time.
Sorry about that. I thought 45 minutes from downtown Naples would be enough to get here, but not this time of year. So, want to just have a moment of silence for 3 firefighters who have lost their lives this past month, and then I'll pray. God, we come to you tonight and we give you thanks for our freedom. We give you thanks for our nation. We give you thanks for this department and all those that serve so faithfully and do so many things. And Lord, as we hear of those who have lost their life in serving, we pray that you will be with their families, watch over them, and give them peace and comfort at this time. Protect our firefighters here and just guard them from harm and just watch over them as they serve. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah. What a mess. Yeah.